Good evening, everybody. How are we doing today? All right, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Brandon Jones, founder of BJ Media. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this event, Gilbert Youth Football League and Alex and Dejas Kicking and Training. I'd like to thank Barrow's Pizza for providing our meal, Epic Sports Network for setting up this live stream, my interns for being here, taking photos for you guys to all enjoy a couple days from now, and my guy Connor for doing all the graphics around this event. So it takes a village. Couldn't do all this on my own, so I want to give credit where credit is due. I'd also like to thank Coach Freeman for dedicating his time today and for making this happen here at Tempe High School. And let's get right into it. We're going to start off with showing the finalist video for our Girls Flag Whiteout of the Year.
There was supposed to be sound, but we didn't have anything to hook it up to, so we're going to have to watch these in silence, unfortunately. Hopefully you guys eating will get rid of some of the awkwardness. So I'm just going to recognize some of these players' accomplishments. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, so we're not really giving away who won the award. I'm going to start off first with Becky Currents. She was a 1,000-yard receiver, had 15 total touchdowns. She's the sister of former O'Connor wide receiver Ben Currents, who did a lot of great things over there, and she's a big reason for O'Connor's improvement and their playoff appearance this season. Next, we have Brianna Brown from Dysart. She had over 2,000 receiving yards and 22 touchdowns in 15 games at the 4A level this season. The Dysart offense was completely centered around her, and there weren't a lot of defenses that could stop her. Then we have our only freshman on this list, Claire McMahon. She had over 1,500 receiving yards, 23 touchdowns, and that includes 16 receptions for 236 yards and 3 touchdowns in a playoff game against Sunnyside. Along with fellow freshman teammate Amaya Walker, she was a big reason for Bash's turnaround after they had a rough debut season in 2023, and she is also a finalist for several other awards. Next, we have last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Kayla Tacker. She made a larger role in this year's offense for Casa Grande. She had over 1,200 yards, 18 touchdowns in 13 games, and that included 11 catches for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns in an upset quarterfinal win over Verrado. Next, we have Madison Koger from Campo Verde. She came into the season as a consensus top 5 player in the state among media outlets. She totaled over 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns in 20 games, including playoffs. She faced double teams in bracket coverage all throughout the season, and she can't be here today, unfortunately, because she is playing in a basketball game where she is also one of the best players for Campo Verde. Next, we have Mackenzie Pope from Kangenview. She took over as Kangenview's #1 receiver after Nija Green and Aaliyah Oliver graduated from last year's team. She had over 1,000 receiving yards and nearly 30 total touchdowns this season. She would have been my choice for the MVP of the 5A championship game after catching 9 passes for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also returning a punt for a 3rd touchdown as the Jaguars won their first state title. Next, we have Mariah Green. She's a big reason for the success of Amaya Moreno and vice versa. She had nearly 2,000 yards and 19 touchdowns in 12 regular season games, and then in the playoffs, she stepped it up even more with double-digit receptions and 125 receiving yards or more in each of the first 3 rounds of the 5A playoffs. And last and certainly not least, we have Samaya Taylor-Jenkins from Hamilton. She came into the season as arguably the best player in the state. She played on Team USA over the summer, and she totaled over 1,700 yards and 30 TDs in 13 regular season games before totaling 25 receptions for 361 yards and 8 touchdowns in the final 3 rounds of playoffs. With that being said, our winner of the Whiteout of the Year award is Maddie Koger of Campo Verde. Since she can't make it today, she asked Amaya to come accept the award on her behalf.
Maddie couldn't be here tonight due to basketball, but she is setting the standard in Arizona, and she's been doing it for years, and she's definitely a great player, and I can't wait to see what she does in the future.
Right, our next award that we are going to show a finalist video for is on the tackle side for the DB of the Year award. Those guys were pretty good at playing lockdown coverage this season. So once again, we'll go in alphabetical order. First up, we have Chase Shoemate from Mountain Point. He is signed to play his college football with San Diego State. He's one of the fastest players in the state, and he recorded 2 interceptions and 10 pass breakups this season in 10 games. Next is Creed Thomas, who has already signed and enrolled at Notre Dame. He had 3 interceptions this season, all of them coming in the playoffs, as well as 6 pass breakups and 2 fumble forces, and this is his second straight year as a finalist for the DB of the Year award. Next, we have Desmond Roebuck, who has signed with Washington to play wide receiver. He had 4 interceptions, including the game sealer against South Point to make Marana the first Southern Arizona team to beat South Point in 7 years. Next, we have Ezra Spivey, who is the only freshman on this list. He had 7 interceptions this season as a freshman on varsity, and he is the younger brother of fellow DB of the Year finalist Nathan Spivey. I think this is probably the first time I've ever seen 2 brothers be finalists for the same award, which is a really cool thing to see. Next, we have Grady Crandall from Highland. His season was cut short, unfortunately, due to injury, but he still finished with 2 interceptions and 65 total tackles. Next, we have Jacob Carter from Mountain Point, who signed with Cornell. He had 1 interception and 5 pass breakups and 42 tackles as well while playing through injuries. Next, we have Jamar Beal-Goins from Desert Edge. He is signed and already enrolled at Texas A&M to play college football. He had 13 pass breakups and blocked 5 kicks this season. He was also a finalist for the Special Teams Player of the Year award after running back 3 kicks for touchdowns. And in 2024, he was second behind teammate David Cabrera with a 10.62 in the 100 meter of the track and field state championship. Next is Logan Haney from Red Mountain. He had 5 interceptions and 76 total tackles in 11 games this season. Next is Mason Lewis from Castile. He holds double-digit Division I offers as a junior and primarily played DB this season after playing linebacker last season. He's really one of those guys where you can just throw him anywhere on the field and he's just going to make plays. He had 7 pass breakups in 8 games played this season. Next is McKenneth Woodbury from Cesar Chavez. He had 2 pick sixes in the same game earlier this year. I think it was against Camelback, if I remember correctly. He ended up finishing with 5 interceptions and 7 PBUs this season, and he just recently verbally committed to Northern Arizona. Next is Nathan Spivey, who had 3 interceptions and 69 total tackles. He was the heart and soul of this year's South Point team. He's not currently committed but holds Division II offers from Minot State and CSU Pueblo. Next is Nico Jandreau, who had nearly 100 tackles and 11 TFLs this season. He is a 3-star recruit with multiple Division I offers in the 2026 class. He's the twin brother of Hamilton linebacker Bo Jandreau, and he is one of the hardest hitting safeties in the state. Next is Rylan Dillard Allen, who signed and has already enrolled at Washington. He had 7 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, and 65 total tackles this season. And last and certainly not least is Zeth Angel Thus, who had 3 interceptions, 5 fumble forces, and 13 TFLs in his first season at Liberty after transferring from Saguaro. And he is verbally committed to Arizona State for the 2026 class. And then give me 1 second to announce the winner. The winner of the DB of the Year award is Creed Thomas, who is already at Notre Dame, so I will get the trophy to him at another time. The next award is the Linebacker of the Year award, and we will play the finalist video right now. So we'll start from the top again. Adrian Deline from Williamsfield, he's signed to play his college football with Utah Tech, and he had over 100 tackles this season. Aiden Browder of Chandler signed with Northern Arizona and had 56 total tackles in 6 games before his season was cut short due to injury. Beckham Barney of Mountain View, who I saw earlier here today, he has signed with Cal Berkeley and had over 80 tackles this season while also playing some running back for the Toros en route to their 6th appearance in the 6A title game. Brody Michael of ALA Queen Creek, he is signed with Idaho. He had over 100 tackles, 12 TFLs, 6 sacks, and 2 interceptions in the same game this season, and it's the 2nd straight season that he's a finalist for the Linebacker of the Year award. Carlos Montoya of Walden Grove had over 115 tackles, 38 TFLs, 5 sacks, 4 fumble forces, and 4 block kicks, while also playing running back for the Red Wolves. He helped lead the Red Wolves to their first playoff win in school history over number 8 Northwest Christian, and he was also a preseason Fiesta Bowl All-State linebacker selection. Cody Wells of Notre Dame Prep, he is signed with Nevada. He had 81 total tackles, 12.5 TFLs, and 7 sacks this season. Dinos Drosos of South Point, verbally committed to Portland State. He had 70 total tackles this season. Eli Kramer Cronin of Basha, he had over 170 tackles and 20 TFLs this season and picked up his first Division I offer from Northern Arizona this offseason. Jamison Wade of Red Mountain, he had over 100 tackles this season, picked up his first Division I offer from Cornell earlier this week. Jalen Coulter of Mountain Point had 112 tackles and 5 pass breakups this season and holds several Division I offers after his junior season. Joshua Hopphaus had nearly 150 tackles this season and a key 78-yard scoop and score in the 5A championship game and was the heart and soul of a very, very good Desert Edge defense. Owen Pember of Pinnacle had over 110 tackles, 20 TFLs, and 7 sacks this season, and also holds multiple college offers but remains uncommitted. Rocky Stallworth of Yuma Catholic had over 200 tackles, 17 TFLs, 10 sacks, and 4 pass breakups to help lead Yuma Catholic back to the 4A semifinals. And Tristan Bacon of Kellis has signed with Arizona State and had 88 tackles and 5 TFLs this season while averaging double-digit yards per carry at running back. That being said, our Linebacker of the Year winner is Beckham Barney of Mountain View.
I just want to say thank you to my family, my parents especially, and thank you to Mountain View. Thank you to my coaches, my players, and thank you to BJ Media for putting on a great event, and thank you guys for all coming out, and thank you guys.
All right, the next award that we're going to present is the Defensive Line of the Year award. Before I talk about each individual finalist, I want to give another shout out to our sponsors, Gilbert Youth Football League and Alex Zendejas Kicking and Training. All right. We'll start from the top once again. First is Atheon Errol of Vista Grand. He verbally committed to CSU Pueblo, had 8.5 sacks this season to help lead Vista Grand to their second playoff appearance in school history. Bastian Vandenbosch of Brophy, he had 6.5 sacks and 12 TFLs this season and holds multiple Division I offers and actually just added another one this morning. Blue Dantzler of Basha, he is signed and already enrolled at Oregon State. He had 11.5 sacks and 28 TFLs this season despite missing 2 games with an injury. Carson Minar of Eastmark has signed with Southern Utah. He had 19 sacks and 32 TFLs in 8 games this season while also playing significant snaps at running back. Dean Vincent of Pinnacle had 7 sacks and 17 TFLs this season. He remains uncommitted but received a Division I offer from Idaho last summer and took a visit during the season. Hudson Dunn of Liberty had 13.5 sacks, 23.5 TFLs this season, and is a 2-time Max Preps All-American and is one of the most heavily recruited outside linebackers in the country. Jackson Murray of Horizon, he is signed with Colorado State. He had 3 sacks and 9 TFLs this season as an interior defensive lineman and made a ton of important plays for the Huskies that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. Jimmy Leone of Micah Mountain had 14 sacks and 22.5 TFLs this season while also leading his team in receiving touchdowns as a tight end. He holds 6 Division I offers and recently took a visit to UTEP, but he remains uncommitted and hopes to sign in the February signing period. Lucas Blumling of Desert Mountain, he is signed with Fresno State and had 10 sacks and 22.5 TFLs this season while making significant contributions on offense as well. He also happened to have 8 tackles and 4 TFLs in the Open Division quarterfinals against a very tough ALA Queen Creek team. Nick Harper of Queen Creek, he signed with Northern Arizona in December, and he had 13 sacks and 22 TFLs this season. Paz St. John of Liberty had 8.5 sacks, 15.5 TFLs as an interior defensive lineman, and he holds several Division I offers after his junior season. And last and certainly not least is Talon Roy of ALA Queen Creek, who had 12 sacks and 16 TFLs this season, including a 5-sack game against ALA Gilbert North, and he is still searching for his college home. With that being said, I would like to welcome former Memphis defensive lineman Keith Brigham to the stage to present the Defensive Line of the Year award. Starting from the top, Aaron Thomas of Mountain Point has had his recruitment continue to blow up this offseason and is one of the few non-seniors that was a finalist for this award. Anderson Kopp of Brophy, he signed with Kansas, and he was the captain and heart and soul for one of the best offensive line units in the state at Brophy. Bryce Greer of Castile, he holds a Division I offer from Northern Arizona, and he's a key part of the returning offense for Castile next season. Bryce Hevesy of Desert Mountain has signed with Army West Point. He is one of the leaders on the Desert Mountain offense, and his film really speaks for itself. Jake Hildebrand of Basha is a 5-star recruit and the highest rated player in the Arizona class of 2027, regardless of position. It's his second straight season as a starting left tackle for the Bears, and he is part of yet another elite offensive line unit. Jaylani Miller of Desert Edge holds nearly 20 Division I offers. His season was cut short due to injury, but he is still one of the top offensive linemen in the country in the class of 2026 going into his senior season next year. Jackson Griffin of Red Mountain has signed with Arizona. He was a key force in Red Mountain's physical, bruising brand of football this season that led to their 7-0 start that shocked the state. Leland Savedia of Casa Grande was a 4-year starter for the Cougars, one of the most under-recruited linemen in the state, and remains uncommitted but picked up an offer from Northern Arizona last weekend. Logan Powell of Brophy has signed with Wisconsin. He's an absolute force at left tackle for the Broncos this season, and as far as I know, he was the only offensive lineman to win a Region Offensive Player of the Year award, which is unheard of. That usually automatically goes to the best quarterback in the region. Rex Waterman of Hamilton, his recruitment has blown up this offseason after a great junior season, and he has established himself as one of the top 26s in the state. Riggs Anderson of ALA Queen Creek, it was his second straight season as a finalist for this award, and he's one of the top remaining uncommitted linemen in the state for the class of 25. Sam Garcia of Basha, he is signed with New Mexico State. He is Basha's other tackle opposite of Hildebrand, and when you just watch his film, your jaw just drops with how he's just knocking 250, 300-pound guys out of the way. And last and certainly not least is Tyreek Washington of Mountain Point. He's a multi-sport athlete currently playing basketball right now. Comes from a basketball family but has excelled on the football field, and he's a key part of the Pride's ability to run the football this past season. With that being said, the Offensive Lineman of the Year award goes to Riggs Anderson of ALA Queen Creek, who unfortunately couldn't make it due to a wrestling meet today. Next, we will play the finalist video for the Tight End of the Year award. A much shorter list for this award, as you know, tight ends are not necessarily used at the high school level like they are in college, but these tight ends all had excellent seasons, starting with Alex Daphnis of Cactus Shadows. He had over 700 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns this season, and was a key part of the electric Cactus Shadows offense that returns nearly every starter from this season. Next is Avion Williams of Casa Grande. He had over 700 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns this season. Defenses really struggled to tackle him, as you could see in the video, and he recently picked up 3 Division I offers this offseason. Dylan Sims of Queen Creek has signed and already enrolled at UCLA. He had 500 receiving yards and 4 TDs this season while making several key run blocks for the Bulldogs. Hayden Dougherty of Highland, he is signed and already enrolled at Northern Arizona. He had nearly 500 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns this season. Jimmy Leone of Micah Mountain, the winner of the Defensive Lineman of the Year award, that was just announced. He had nearly 500 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns this season. Mekhi Hodge of Cesar Chavez, he's the youngest player in this group as just a sophomore. He received his first Division I offer from Arizona State after his freshman season, and he also started playing at defensive end for the Champions this season, where he made a large impact as well. And last and certainly not least is Merrick Kabaki of Castile. He signed with Air Force, and he caught 4 touchdown passes while also being one of the best blocking tight ends in the state. With that being said, the winner of our Tight End of the Year award is Avion Williams of Casa Grande. He had a basketball game today, so he wants Leland to accept the award on his behalf. Leland, are you here? Next, we will show our Wide Receiver of the Year finalist video. This year's class really had a lot of good receivers. We'll start with Bodie Wagner of Red Mountain, who recently verbally committed to Air Force. He totaled over 800 yards and 10 touchdowns this season. Next is Braxton Wen of Liberty. He's only a sophomore. He totaled over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns as the lead receiver for the Open Division champs, and he picked up a Division I offer from Colorado State during the season. Next is Chase Shumate of Mountain Point, who as I said earlier, signed with San Diego State and is also a finalist for the DB of the Year award as well as a two-way Player of the Year award. Next is Cooper Perry of Notre Dame Prep, who has signed and already enrolled at Oregon. He totaled over 700 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns, 231 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns in 9 games. Devin Fitzgerald of Brophy, he holds double-digit Division I offers and had over 700 in receiving yards and 9 TDs. Desmond Roebuck, who I spoke about earlier, has signed with Washington, broke several state receiving records, and totaled over 1,100 receiving yards and 14 TDs this season. Dominic Ruiz of Corona del Sol, he signed with Idaho State. He totaled over 1,000 scrimmage yards and 19 total touchdowns this season in 10 games. Gio Richardson of Basha, he signed with Arizona, totaled over 900 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns this season. Jaden Taylor of Higley signed with Northern Arizona, totaled over 800 yards and 13 touchdowns in 9 games this season. Kamon Jackson of McClintock, he verbally committed to CSU Pueblo and totaled over 1,800 scrimmage yards and 32 total TDs in just 11 games this season. And last and certainly not least is Sir Stokes of Yuma Catholic, who totaled nearly 1,400 yards and 14 TDs this season, despite missing 1 game. And he also had 2 200-yard games against ACP and Combs. With that being said, our winner of the Wide Receiver of the Year award is Braxton Wen of Liberty. Braxton couldn't make it today due to a family commitment, so he asked his teammate Paz St. John to accept the award on his behalf. I guess that was a 2-person job. Next, we'll play the Running Back of the Year finalist video. Brandon Brown of ALA Queen Creek, he totaled over 1,000 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns while splitting reps with Bobby Nesbitt. He holds a Division I offer from Minot State but remains uncommitted. Dylan Hayhurst of Barry Goldwater totaled over 2,300 rushing yards and 35 touchdowns while averaging nearly 8 yards per carry. Elijah Little of Thunderbird rushed for over 1,800 yards and 29 touchdowns in the regular season, and if that wasn't enough, he rushed 47 times for 483 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2 playoff games against Bradshaw Mountain and Micah Mountain. Fernando Moya of Vista Grand, he totaled over 1,000 rushing yards and 8 TDs in 9 games this season. Jack Isidore of Verado, he totaled over 1,600 rushing yards and 21 total TDs this season and holds Division II and JUCO offers but remains uncommitted. Noah Chanez of Tucson temporarily switched from slot receiver to running back for most of the season this year due to injuries at the running back position for Tucson. He totaled over 1,000 scrimmage yards and 12 touchdowns this season and is one of several key returning players for a much improved Tucson team next season. Noah Roberts of Basha, he rushed for over 1,000 yards and 23 total TDs this season. He's the only sophomore that's a finalist for this award, and his recruitment has blown up as he holds double-digit Division I offers and is rated as a 4 or 5-star recruit on most platforms. And last and certainly not least is Tristan Halsana of Chandler. He rushed for nearly 1,000 yards and 19 TDs despite missing 2 games with injuries this season. With that being said, the Running Back of the Year award goes to Elijah Little of Thunderbird. Looks like he's not here today, so we will get that to him at another time. The next finalist video we will play is the QB of the Year award. We had a lot of good quarterbacks this year, especially in our 2026 class. Brady Goodman of Mountain View, he threw for over 3,000 yards and 43 touchdowns while rushing for nearly 500 yards and 11 touchdowns in his first year as QB1 for the Toros. He threw for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns while playing through an injury during the 6A semifinal win over Brophy, and he has picked up multiple Division I offers this offseason. Brody Veras of Basha threw for over 2,900 yards, 27 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions while rushing for 4 more touchdowns in his first year as the starting quarterback for the Bears. Colton Meyer of Marana, he threw for nearly 3,700 yards and 31 touchdowns this season. He also threw for 357 yards and 2 touchdowns in a close open division quarterfinal against Hamilton. Donovan Dixon of Cactus Shadows threw for over 2,600 yards and 24 TDs while rushing for over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns this season, and was the 2023 winner of the Underclassman of the Year award. This offseason, he recently picked up a Division I offer from Northern Arizona. Jace Ashley of Horizon has verbally committed to Western New Mexico. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns while rushing for 500 yards and 11 touchdowns this season to lead the Huskies to the Open Division. Jackson Knutson of McClintock, he verbally committed to CSU Pueblo. He threw for nearly 3,800 yards and 47 touchdowns while rushing for an additional 3 touchdowns. And in the 5A round of 16 loss to Campo Verde, he completed 32 of 41 passes for 527 yards and 4 touchdowns while rushing 6 times for 60 yards and a 5th touchdown. Tate Reynolds of Queen Creek He verbally committed to Clemson to play both football and baseball for the 2026 class. He came up clutch with a walk-off RBI to win the 6A state title for Queen Creek in baseball last spring. And on the gridiron, he threw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns while rushing for over 1,400 yards and 19 touchdowns. And last and certainly not least is Wyatt Horton of Pinnacle. He signed with Idaho State, was a 3-year starter at Pinnacle, and threw for nearly 3,000 yards and 36 touchdowns while rushing for over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns this season to lead Pinnacle to the 6A quarterfinals. With that being said, our QB of the Year award goes to Donovan Dixon of Cactus Shadows.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, and the Cave Creek community. Thank you.
Dang, Dom, you can't even thank your dad, who happens to be your head coach, too? I bet he'd appreciate it. With that being said, we're going to go back to the Flag Awards, and we're going to play our finalist video for the Freshman of the Year award. Unfortunately, I bought one too few of the little note cards, so I'm going to have to remember this one off the dome. But our Freshman of the Year finalists, Claire McMahon of Basha, who I spoke about earlier, she had nearly 1,700 receiving yards and 20 touchdowns while recording 16 interceptions, 10 PBUs, and 31 flag pulls on defense. Ella Mudders of Campo Verde, she had over 700 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns on offense while recording 4 interceptions and 24 flag pulls on defense. Lacey Nemchik of Castile, she threw for over 3,000 yards and 36 touchdowns and helped Castile improve from 2-10 to a 12 seed in the 6A playoffs this season. Marley Phillips of Hamilton threw for nearly 4,800 yards and 69 touchdowns and helped lead Hamilton to their first ever state title. Mia Williams of Verrado threw for over 3,500 yards and 52 touchdowns, leading Verrado to the 5A quarterfinals. And last and not least, Sofia Vallone, the Corona del Sol defensive back, had 16 interceptions and 38 flag pulls this season while receiving multiple nominations for the Barrows Pizza Player of the Week award throughout the season. With that being said, our Girls Flag Freshman of the Year award will go to Marley Phillips of Hamilton. Don't think she can make it, so Coach Stone, if you want to accept it for her.
Thank you.
Right. The next award we're going to show the finalist video for is the Underclassman of the Year award. forgot to mention this earlier, but with girls flag not having huddle film and stuff like that, for me to be able to screen grab like I do with the boys. So unfortunately, some people, if I didn't get out to one of their games, I just don't have any film on them to put in there, unfortunately. But that being said, Amaya Moreno of Mountain Point, she threw for over 4,500 yards and 65 touchdowns while rushing for over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns this season. She led Mountain Point to a 12-0 regular season and 5A runner-up title. I spoke about Claire McMahon earlier, as she's a finalist for literally every single award that she was eligible for. Kayla Tacker of Casa Grande, I spoke about her offensive accomplishments earlier, and on defense, she had 18 interceptions, 38 pass breakups, and 62 flag pulls. And like I said earlier, is last year's Defensive Player of the Year. Kinsley McCarty of Eastmark, she had over 1,000 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns in 11 games on offense before suffering a season-ending injury a couple days before the season ended, and she had 8 interceptions and 5 pass breakups on defense before her injury. Lanice Armstrong of Casa Grande, she had over 900 receiving yards and nearly 700 rushing yards and 16 total TDs this season on offense. And on defense, she had 8 interceptions, 28 pass breakups, and 37 flag pulls. And last and certainly not least is Tierra Metcalf of Mountain View. She threw for nearly 2,800 yards and 33 touchdowns while also rushing for over 700 yards and 8 touchdowns this season. And she led her team to the state title in 2023 as a freshman and led them back to the 6A semifinals as a sophomore this season. With that being said, our Girls Flag Underclassman of the Year award winner goes to Amaya Moreno of Mountain Point.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my family and friends and God for this award. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. And I hope that many other girls get to have this type of exposure and opportunities. And I hope this sport keeps on growing as much as it is right now.
I wasn't going to say anything, but since she wore the jacket, if you guys didn't notice, she's transferring to Campo Verde. Our next award that we're going to play the finalist video for is the Girls Flag Two-Way Player of the Year. Starting to get into the bigger awards now. As you can see, the trophy sizes are going up. First and foremost, Brianna Saunders of Millennium. She threw for nearly 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns while rushing for nearly 1,500 yards and 14 TDs. On offense and on defense, she recorded 20 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 8 flag pulls. Cadence McCandless of Red Mountain. She led the Mountain Lions with over 700 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns on offense and recorded 92 flag pulls, 9 interceptions, and 8 pass breakups on defense. Cameron Milo of Mountain Ridge, she took over the QB and free safety role that Maddie Green played last year. She threw for over 2,000 yards and 24 touchdowns while rushing for 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns on offense. And on defense, she recorded 18 interceptions, 22 pass breakups, and 38 flag pulls. I already discussed Claire McMahon and Kayla Tacker's accomplishments earlier. And Kalia Donna of Gilbert, she led her team with over 700 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns on offense while recording 9 interceptions, 15 pass breakups, and 80 flag pulls on defense. Maddie Koger of Campo Verde, I discussed her offensive accomplishments earlier, and on defense, she recorded 16 interceptions and 41 flag pulls as well. And last and certainly not least is Tristan Hilson of Arcadia. She led her team with 948 receiving yards in just 9 games, and defensively, she recorded 8 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, and 58 flag pulls. With that being said, our girls flag two-way Player of the Year award goes to Brianna Saunders of Millennium.
Oh, I got it. I just want to thank my family, coaches, and teammates for pushing me. I truly wouldn't be here without them. Thank you.
All right, now we're going back to the boys' side. We're going to show our finalist video for the Freshman of the Year award. Our Freshman of the Year finalists, starting with Darryl Little of Thunderbird. He had over 500 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns and was a first-team All-Region selection at Thunderbird. Ezra Spivey of Tucson, he had 7 interceptions, 2 fumble forces, and 4 fumble recoveries, and is also a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year and DB of the Year. Jelani George of Desert Edge had 62 total tackles, 5 sacks, and 10 TFLs, and has already picked up multiple Division I offers. Roy Oliver of Hamilton led the team with over 800 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns, and already has picked up several D1 offers as well. And Torrin Hill of Centennial had over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns at tight end this season and played a huge role in the offense before Nico Boncori and Shamar Berryhill became eligible in Week 6. And he also has picked up several Division I offers. With that being said, our Freshman of the Year award goes to Roy Oliver of Hamilton. Another player who couldn't make it today, so I will find another time to get this to him. Our next award is the Defensive Underclassman of the Year finalists. All right, starting with so for our defensive underclassmen of the year, we have Iona Kupu of Chandler. He had 113 total tackles, 4 TFLs, and 4 pass breakups. He stepped up big for the Chandler defense when Aiden Browder went down with an injury. Makai Hodge of Cesar Chavez, he had 4.5 sacks, 3 TFLs, 26 total tackles, and 3 pass breakups, playing both ways for the champions. And as we announced earlier, he also was a finalist for the Tight End of the Year award. Michael Davis of Desert Edge, he had 2 interceptions and 3 pass breakups this season, but his impact on the game doesn't show up much on the stat sheet because many teams avoided throwing his way. He already has double-digit Division I offers. And last but not least is Ryder Noche of Brophy. He's mainly known for his kick and punt return skills, but he plays fast and hits hard on defense. He had 2 interceptions and 6 pass breakups this season, and he also has a few Division I offers already. To present the Defensive Underclassman of the Year award, I'd like to welcome Hypermark contributor and current Arizona State student Adam Beadle.
All right, what's up, peeps? Our defensive underclassman of the year is Michael Davis. You wanna? No? Okay. I think next we're going to do the offensive underclassman of the year, so I'm going to go ahead and show that. All right, we're going to give BJ's vocal cords a bit of a break here. All right, our finalists for Offensive Underclassman of the Year, I know Braxton Huynh was mentioned earlier. This is a kid, a wide receiver in the 27 class. He's going to have a lot coming his way in the next few years. Dante Tyson as well from Peoria, another kid we've talked about. 800 yards from scrimmage, 7 touchdowns last season. 4-star recruit, double-digit Division I offers. Isaac Massey, wide receiver out of ALA Gilbert North, 740 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns in the regular season, before totaling 18 receptions, 285 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Eagles' final 2 playoff games. A very underrated prospect in the 27 class. Then we got Cale Snyder, quarterback over at Perry, total 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns this season. His recruitment has really blown up over the last couple of weeks. Levi Tavares, wide receiver out of Vista Grande, totaled 400 scrimmage yards and 4 touchdowns in just 8 games. And a very run-heavy Vista Grande offense. Noah Roberts, of course, we talked about him earlier, running back over there at Basha. And then we got Ferris Jenkins, the running back, Cesar Chavez, who rushed for nearly 900 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns to get the champions to the playoffs for the first time in a while. All right, our offensive underclassman of the year is Noah Roberts from Basha. Noah also isn't here, so we'll get him the trophy another day when he's back. Our next award is the Defensive Impact Transfer of the Year. All right, 4 finalists for this award is Jaden Ridley, edge over at Horizon. He had 8 sacks, 12 TFLs, obviously in just 6 games due to the transfer rules after transferring from Chaparral. And then we got Jerry Washington, who was an edge at Desert Edge, 14.5 sacks, 21.5 TFLs in 9 games this season after transferring from Independence. He's signed with San Diego State to play college. We got Matthew Lee, linebacker at ALA West Foothills. He had 6 TFLs, 2 sacks, 34 tackles, and 4 regular season games this season after transferring from Trevivium Prep. We got Tyler Bernstein, who's an edge from Liberty, 4.5 sacks, 7 TFLs in 5 games this season after transferring from Shadow Ridge. He's got Division I offers to Northern Arizona and New Mexico. Our defensive impact transfer of the year is Jerry Washington, Desert Edge. Michael, if you want to come get this for Jerry. All right, you might have guessed it, but next we're going to do the offensive impact transfer of the year. All right, we had a pretty loaded group of offensive impact transfers this year. This one, I know when we were going through the list trying to cut them down to finalists, it was pretty hard because there were a lot of good transfers this season. First, we're going to start with Jai Jones, who transferred from Corona del Sol to Chandler this season. He had 287 receiving yards in 5 games with the Wolves, holds double-digit Division I offers. Next, we got Liberty tight end Camden Siegel. He had 372 yards, 3 touchdowns in 5 games with Saguaro, and was kind of just a key contributor to Liberty in the second half of the season, obviously that Open Division Championship. We got Nico Blancourt, who is a wide receiver at Centennial, 360 yards, 4 touchdowns in 5 games after transferring from Cactus. He had 5 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown in the 6A the 6A championship game to help lift the Coyotes over Mountain View. He's also signed to Utah State. And then we got Tristan Armstrong, who is a wide receiver from Saguaro. He had 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 regular season games after transferring from Chaparral. He has several Division I offers as well. Our offensive impact transfer is Utah State Nico Boncourt from Centennial.
Just thank you to my family, all the coaches at Centen, and BJ Media for this event. Thank you.
All right, our next video we're going to play is for our two-way player of the year finalists. All right. Our two-way player of the year finalists, Desmond Roebuck of Marana. We discussed all his accomplishments earlier. Mason Lewis of Castile, we discussed his defensive accomplishments. On offense, he totaled 673 yards and 5 touchdowns. Nathan Spivey of South Point, we also discussed his defensive accomplishments earlier, and he also totaled 500 scrimmage yards and 9 touchdowns on offense for the Lancers. And last but not least is Uriah Tennette of Prescott. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns while rushing for over 900 yards and 16 touchdowns on offense. And on defense, he had 5 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and 56 total tackles. With that being said, our two-way player of the year is Nathan Spivey of South Point. As you might figure, another Tucson guy that couldn't make the drive up, so we will find another time to get it to him. Now we're going to go back to flag again, and we're going to I'm going to list off our Coach of the Year candidates. Obviously, with coaches, there's no video. So much as I'd love to record them yelling at their players for running the wrong route or giving a pregame speech, just not enough footage to put something like that together. First and foremost, we have Matt Stone of Hamilton. He led Hamilton to a perfect season and a 6A state title. Ray Black of Castile. She led Castile to an 8-5 record and a 6A playoff appearance after going 2-10 in 2023. Rebecca Sloat of Crisman. She led them to a 10-3 record and 4A playoff appearance after going 2-11 and missing the playoffs in 2023. Ryan Johnson of Basha led them to a 12-2 record and the 6A quarterfinals after going 3-9 in 2023. Sergio Ramirez of Mountain Point led them to a 15-1 record and a 5A title game appearance after getting bounced in the first round in 2023. And Whitney Warmus of Mountain Ridge led the Mountain Lions to a 12-2 record and a 6A quarterfinal appearance after leading them to the 6A title as an 11 seed in 2023. Our Girls Flag Coach of the Year award will go to Matt Stone of Hamilton.
Thank you so much. First, I just want to appreciate and just thank and appreciate what independent media has done for girls flag football. Not only is it promoting the athletes that we have now, but it's really helping promote the sport for the next generation as we see our sport just continue to explode throughout Arizona. And the other thing I want to say, because I know Coach Koger couldn't be here today, I want to promote a really big event. This Friday is a historic day in flag football in our state as we have the first ever collegiate flag football game with ASU and GCU. And if you have a chance to get out there to ASU to watch that game, it's just another step in the process for our sport. So continue to support these ladies that have built this sport. Thank you.
All right, those of you guys that got to give speeches after this, now you guys kind of know what you got to do when you're giving the speech, right? Try to give me more than like 5 words. All right, for our boys tackle coach of the year finalists, it was a really tight race, so we had a ton of finalists. First is Andy Litton of Mountain View. He led them to a 12-2 record and the 6A title game in his first season after the Toros lost in the first round of the playoffs in the previous regime in 2023. Chandler Hovick of Cesar Chavez, he led the champions to a 7-4 record and a playoff appearance in his first season after the champions went just 3-7 in 2023. Chase Cartwright of Santan Charter, he led the Roadrunners to a 12-1 record in the season. Chris Dixon of Cactus Shadows led the Falcons to a 7-5 record and a 5A playoff appearance after going 4-6 and missing playoffs last season. Jeremy Hathcock of Verado led the Vipers to a 10-3 record and the 5A semifinals in his first season after they went 3-7 in 2023. John Roberts of Vista Grand, who recently took the Mountain Point job, led the Spartans to a school record 8-3 and a 4A playoff appearance after going 7-3 but still missing playoffs the previous season. Kay Solomon, who just announced his retirement earlier this week, led the Lobos to a 12-1 record and the 4A semifinals after going 7-4 and losing first round last season. Kyle Enders of Red Mountain led the Mountain Lions to a surprise 7-0 start that included wins over Highland and ALA Queen Creek before dealing with numerous injuries that kind of just derailed their season. Philip Stewart of Marana led the Tigers to their first ever Open Division appearance and a 10-1 record. Travis Sherman of Queen Creek led the Bulldogs to a 10-3 record and the 6A semifinals after going just 3-8 in 2023. Tyson Ditmore of Horizon led the Huskies to the Open Division and an 8-3 record in his first season as their head coach. And Zach Nevelef of Tucson led the Badgers to a 9-3 record and the 5A quarterfinals, posting their best regular season record since 1971. I think even some parents probably weren't alive for that. And their first playoff appearance since that same 1971 season. With that being said, our winner of the Coach of the Year award is Andy Litton of Mountain View. He had track duty, so Brady and Beckham, you can come up.
So this was Coach Layton's first year coming in, and he just gets us pumped throughout the season and stuff. We really love Coach Layton and all that he's done for us, and just thank you.
Speeches are getting better every time. I like it. All right. Our next award that we are going to present is another one with no video, is the Special Teams Player of the Year. Our finalists are Evan Romero of Mesa. He made 31 of 34 PATs and 13 of 15 field goals with a long of 47 yards. Jamar Bill Goins of Desert Edge. He ran back 2 kicks, 1 punt, and averaged 45 yards per kickoff return and 27.6 yards per punt return. Kaya Francone of South Point, he made 38 of 39 PATs and 7 of 10 field goals with a long of 54 yards this season. When South Point came up to the Valley and played Centennial, I actually watched him make 3 50-yard field goals in 1 quarter. Mikey Barth of Basha made 49 of 49 PATs and 4 of 6 field goals, and with a long of 36 this season as a sophomore. And Palmer Podwicka of Horizon, he made 38 of 39 PATs and 10 of 11 field goals with a long of 51, and he also made the game-winning field goal for Horizon to beat Higley late in the season. With that being said, our winner of the Special Teams Player of the Year award is Jamar Bill Goins of Desert Edge. Michael or Josh, you want to come up? Yeah, I usually try to have this event in December so we don't have our guys that early enroll already gone, but nothing we could do about it this year, unfortunately. Next, we are going to play our Small Ball Player of the Year finalist video. So those of you that are not familiar with the term small ball, that's the 2A and 3A schools. There's 1A ball as well, but they play 8-man, so it's kind of a different sport. So I just keep it at 2A and 3A. We had 18 different finalists, so I kind of regret not using a little AI voice to just read over all the notes I have on every player, because this might take the very little left of my voice out. We'll start with Aiden Wise of Wickenburg. He had 10 interceptions and 15 pass breakups this season. Aiden Ysaguirre, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, unfortunately. He rushed for over 1,200 yards and 16 TDs this season on offense and recorded 5 sacks, 6 TFLs, and 68 total tackles on defense. Arthur Murphy of Tempe, the very school that we're here at right now, he had 47 receptions for 910 yards and 16 touchdowns for the Buffaloes this season. Aiden Williams of ALA Ironwood rushed for over 2,000 yards and 25 TDs in 12 games, including playoffs. Benjamin Wolfley of Trivium Prep caught 25 passes for 368 yards and 5 touchdowns on offense and had 4 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, and a scoop and score on defense. Caleb Randall of Scottsdale Christian rushed for over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns while recording 75 total tackles in 8 regular season games. And he also rushed for over 200 yards while recording 11 tackles in the 2A semifinal win over number 1 Santan Charter before they would go on to win the 2A state title for the 2nd straight season. Fabian Hernandez of Bisbee, he had 116 total tackles, 13.5 TFLs, and 11.5 sacks in the regular season. Jeffrey Cochran of Round Valley, he had 340 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns on offense while having 71 tackles and 4 interceptions on defense. J.J. Brutus of ALA West Foothills had 14 sacks and 28 TFLs in the regular season and also rushed for 322 yards and 5 TDs on offense in the regular season. He took over at running back in the playoffs, rushing for 7 touchdowns and 380 yards in 3 games before going down in the 3A semifinal against Thatcher, and it ultimately probably cost ALA West Foothills that 3A title game against Push Ridge when he wasn't able to play. Caleb Burris of Heritage Academy Levine threw for nearly 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns while rushing for over 1,000 yards and 19 more touchdowns this season. Lamario Claiborne, also from Heritage Academy Levine, had 16 sacks, 33 TFLs, and 6 fumble forces in 10 games this season. Nathan Harris of Santa Cruz Valley threw for over 2,000 yards and 24 touchdowns this season. Ridge Allen of Ben Franklin rushed for over 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns on offense and had 60 tackles, 7.5 TFLs, and 6 PBUs on defense. Sir Isaac Sanchez Caldwell of Tonopah Valley switched from wide receiver to quarterback this season and threw for over 3,800 yards and 45 touchdowns while rushing for over 700 yards and 14 touchdowns. Tristan Brown of Thatcher had 115 total tackles this season on defense and 9 rushing touchdowns on offense. Uriah Nellums of Santan Charter switched from wide receiver to quarterback this season as well and signed with Arizona State to play wide receiver, and he threw for nearly 2,000 yards and 32 touchdowns while rushing for over 900 yards and 12 touchdowns. And last, and certainly not least, is Xavier Owens of Safford, a 2-way trenches player, had 13 sacks, 14.5 TFLs, and 48 QB hurries while being the Bulldogs' best offensive lineman. With that being said, our Small Ball Player of the Year award will go to J.J. Brutus of ALA West Foothills. He wasn't able to make it either. I really wasn't expecting a lot of those guys to make it just because those schools are so far out. Our next award is going to be the Girls Flag Defensive Player of the Year award, and we'll play the finalist video right now. So most of these girls were also finalists for other awards, so I'm going to go over the ones that were not. Delaney Courtney of Prescott had over 100 flag pulls, 10 sacks, and 7 interceptions this season, and helped lead Prescott to a 4A title game. Kylie Hammer of Shadow Ridge had over 100 flag pulls, 5 interceptions, and 11 PBUs this season. Kylie Riggs of Highland had 32 sacks and 63 total flag pulls this season. Mariah Willis of Mesquite had 17 interceptions this season. Macy Bassett of Canyon View had 74 flag pulls, 8 sacks, and 6 interceptions this season. Namie Singer of Marana had 52 sacks and 63 flag pulls this season. And the other finalists are Brianna Saunders, Cadence McCandless, Kayla Tacker, and Madison Koger. That being said, our winner of the Girls Flag Defensive Player of the Year award, Alexa played back-to-back because it's Kayla Tacker of Casa Grande.
First off, I want to thank God, my family, friends, and coaches, and a big huge thank you to BJ Media for putting this on.
All right. Our last girls flag football award is going to be the Offensive Player of the Year award, and we'll play the finalist video right now. All right. For our Offensive Player of the Year award, we have Amaya Moreno and Brianna Saunders, who both left with other awards today. Caitlin Jewell from Canyon View, she threw for nearly 4,000 yards and 65 touchdowns. She was last year's winner of this award, and she helped lead the Jags to their first 5A state title. Lexi Harper of Desert Ridge threw for nearly 2,700 yards and 21 touchdowns. And our other finalists, who we've already talked about, are Kayla Tacker, Madison Koger, Marley Phillips, Mariah Green, Samaya Taylor-Jenkins, and Tierra Metcalf. With that being said, our winner of the Girls Flag Offensive Player of the Year award is Samaya Taylor-Jenkins of Hamilton.
If I don't tell her about it, do I get to keep this?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
That was nicer. Maybe she'll trade with you. Hers is a little nicer. All right. Our last two awards are the Defensive Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year. We're going to start with the Defensive Player of the Year finalist video. right, so I'm not going to go through all the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year because they were all announced earlier for their respective positional awards. So I'm just going to go right into it and announce the winner. And the winner of our Defensive Player of the Year award is Hudson Dunn of Liberty. Hudson also couldn't make it for, I forgot what the reason was, but Paz and Tyler, if you want to make this a team effort and get this to him, that'd be great. Don't trip over yourself. All right, I know you guys are tired of watching videos, so video number 23 and the last one, the Offensive Player of the Year award, is coming up right now. All right. Once again, all these guys have been announced already, so we're going to get right into it. Our Offensive Player of the Year goes to, this is going to Southern Arizona for the first time. The winner is Desmond Roebuck. Desmond also couldn't make it, so we'll figure out a way to get that to him as well. Thank everyone for being here today, and congrats on a great season. And last but not least, I'd once again like to thank our sponsors, Gilbert Youth Football League and Alex Zendejas Kicking and Training. If some of you guys are still hungry, we got plenty of pizza left. Otherwise, I'm going to be divvying it up between myself and the interns, and it looks like it's a lot of boxes, so I don't know if my fridge can take it. So if you're hungry, please take some pizza with you. Have a good night, folks.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Pretty cool.
Turn this off.
Can we grab a picture? Yeah. I'll let you go first.
Oh, yeah, we do it in front here, yeah.